This is Graduate a CEO, what it takes and what it means to become an entrepreneur, and why college is the perfect time to start your business. Here's Jim Hunter.
I'm back with Benny Pekala, the co-founder of Cryptan Labs and the founder of Birdwell Solutions. We've been talking about his entrepreneurial journey that began on the Madison campus of the University of Wisconsin. Benny, I want to dig into how you're helping these early-stage Web3 companies at Cryptan Labs. I would assume there's some sort of screening process on both your side and the startup side. How do you determine the right fit?
Step one is due diligence. We ourselves, have looked through a number of projects and kind of know where to dig. And we also have partners. We have venture capital firms and other investors that are mutually aligned with us, where they want to also make sure that we're seeing. So they help us to do due diligence on the companies that we're looking at applications from. Beyond that, it's probably a mix of if it matches our thesis and if we really believe in the team and the product. So I guess to touch on the thesis quickly, right? So a thesis, hope people are kind of familiar with the concept. Within the startup world, it kind of means a specific kind of belief in where the market's headed and a specific type of company that we're looking to help to take advantage of that. So this latest round of the accelerator, we're really focused on what we called Web 2.5. So companies that were selling and competing in existing markets, but with Web3 as a differentiator. So for example, music, like the creator platform I talked to before. Music, obviously it's an existing industry, and the end user experience of, hey, at the end of the day, it's somebody listening to music and loving it, right? That experience is not any different. So that experience is the same. And so companies that are using Web3 as a differentiator while still providing that experience. So if we think it's a match where it is in that space where they're selling to a value proposition that is established, and using technology, emerging technology under the hood. And then the next step is the team and the product, right? So do we think this team not only has the expertise and the background, but also the gumption, the conviction, the energy? It's unfortunate. All too often, we see projects that they're great ideas. They check everything else, but we take a look and it's a side project that one of the founders has that's something that they've been playing with in the background, but they've got a full-time job and they've got a lot of things that are going to keep them from actually pursuing this project. So that's an important fact, is like, hey, like looking at the team, not only are they capable, but are they ready, right? And are they able to do this? Because it's not easy starting a company. So it's at that point, we've really got to help make sure we're being respectful of everybody's time and energy. And projects where we think, yeah, we could get started, but somewhere along the way, you might have to put this aside. Sometimes we take a pass on those projects and we wait to see and come back later.
Well, I can see that you all have a lot to offer somebody that's in that situation. What, on the other hand, do you require of them? Are you an investor? Do you have certain requirements that they need to meet?
Yeah. So right now, we actually make it really easy. So it's time. So companies in the accelerator, we ask for an hour a week with an advisor where they work through coursework. So for example, in the example I gave with Creator, working through product and technical coursework. So, hey, how do we, what product should we create here? How do we go about architecting this product? So 1 hour a week meeting with an advisor to talk about what they're working on. And then there's always homework, right? So then the advisor is going to say, hey, all right, go and do your research into competitors in the products that they have. Or, hey, go and see, this product is in a new market. Go get some data about how big this market is and what it's forecasted to grow in the next decade. So we ask for an hour a week of time with an advisor and then for them to do their homework. Because it's cash free and equity free, people might be wondering, well, what do you get out of it, right? What is the
Sure.
the ability for companies? We do ask to sign a safe agreement at the beginning of the accelerator, where if we are successful in helping you to increase the valuation of your company throughout the process of the accelerator, and we bring in somebody that helps you to get to that next milestone, right, to get to that next investment, that we're able to invest at that original valuation, right? So that when that time comes, when we've successfully, helped you to improve your business and help to connect you with people that are interested in investing, that we ourselves are essentially investing at a discount because we've helped to raise your valuation. So we really see it as a win-win. From the incubator side, so that's the program we run every quarter. But from the other side, where we are more hands-on, we do have kind of a retainer model. So the way that we do it is we say, hey, we'll come on as a fractional CTO, as a fractional CMO, so Chief Marketing Officer. And there is kind of a cost for that, right? Like we want to be able to really be committed to the project, and we're pretty busy. So really that cost is mainly to make sure that we've got you as a top priority. And then we actually give the rest of our team at cost, right? So if we're coming on as a fractional CTO, there'll be a retainer model for that core service. But every other developer that we bring on the project, other partners that we bring in, we will do those at cost. So that's really different for every company that we work with, but generally kind of has the retainer model plus services that come at cost, which we find is really successful in kind of growing and scaling, but also aligning what we do in a day-to-day with how we can help a company.
Boy, it sounds like you've got it really covered. It sounds like an excellent program.
Thank you.
What advice would you give for someone just starting out in the blockchain space?
Learn. There's a lot of resources online. Kind of dive down and start searching. I can share one that I really like, which is called Whiteboard Crypto. It was one that when I was brand new and I kind of asked, hey, where should I learn? And that was one recommended to me. So Whiteboard Crypto, it's a YouTube channel that teaches a lot about how some of these complex topics function, but does so in a way for people with no background knowledge and no tech experience that they can understand. So dive in and learn. Read as much as you can. Find what you're interested in. It's a big space, so it's hard to cover everything, but find what you're interested in and try to really get a grip on it. Try to really understand it in a way where you can go explain it to someone else. That's when you know that you've got a good hand on it. One of the great things about Web3 is that there's a lot of community behind it. So if you do, say you like NFT projects for sustainability, right? Or for, to help the environment. Google search that and see if, and then add the word community, right? Or add the word event. And you should be able to find a group of people that also believes in that. And they're generally very welcoming. So then walk in the door and be honest. Say, hey, I'm brand new to this space. I found you guys because I was Google searching events and communities and you came up. Is there anybody here that can help explain it to me, that can help me figure this out? And I would bet that you'll get several people offering to help.
Well, that's great. And for people like me, that's really important. So thank you for that suggestion. How do you see the future of blockchain evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think in 2023 and potentially even in 2024, we'll see a continued bear market. I think, not financial advice, but I think we'll see less activity. We'll see more of the building in the space being kind of under the hood, right? Where you might have companies building with blockchain technology, but if you went to their website, you wouldn't know. I think that's the next phase that's kind of ahead of us. I also think, another characteristic of that phase is that there will not be a lot of kind of NFT projects like Bored Apes, a lot of like coin launches and like token raises. I think another characteristic of this next phase is that we're gonna hopefully figure out some regulation around this. That's going to be really helpful. Regulation, in my opinion, is very good for this space because it enables us to have things that we can lean on that'll add credibility and, playbooks to follow. When there's no playbook, people just kind of do everything, and it's best to have a few set options. So that's what I think the next 1 to 2 years is a continued bear market, building products and technologies that are under the hood using blockchain, but not frontward facing, and regulation getting formed. I think beyond that, the opportunities are endless. I think that I do believe in Web3. I do believe there's a version of the internet coming ahead of us that will be different. I think it's going to be, I think we're always adjusting as people in the space, adjusting what that looks like. I think the first thing that I see taking root is immersive experiences. So AKA the metaverse, but is an ability for people to, hey, when they're coming to shop at my store, hey, they can click a button and actually see what this object looks like in 3D. Give it a few years, but I think that'll come to market first. And then we'll start to see more of the cryptocurrency, more of the NFT technology start to slowly roll out.
It sounds very exciting. If there is a student at a university that is kind of a techie and really wants to kind of get in this industry, how do they get in the door? Do they get a job with you guys, or do they find somebody that they can work with? They strike out on their own?
Yeah, anybody feel free to hit me up. I would love to help, especially if you're at UW-Madison or at Wisconsin. You'll get extra time and attention. So I do think, step one is, see who you know in the space, right? Like look for the resources that you already have. For college students, I think a big one is actually your professors, right? And people that are at the university. I remember for me, it took until I had left college to really realize just how helpful the professors and the organizations at the college were. And luckily, I was still living in Madison. I was still very active, so I was able to then engage with them. But I think that's one thing, if I could go back and tell myself at the beginning of college, it would be, hey, this is their job to help you. Like, if you walk in the door and say, hey, I'm curious about this, can you help me? Like, it is their job to say yes. Once you leave, it's not necessarily that anymore. And it's a great community. So I'd say tap who you already have. The next step would be to get training in this. So, hopefully similarly, there's a course or somebody at your university that might be able to help with this. Maybe there's even a student org that focuses on this. But go ahead and take like a Solidity course. So Solidity, if you're a developer, you'll likely learn Java and C in school. Solidity is very similar to JavaScript, but it's a language that's used a lot in blockchain. Rust is another big one. So go and take a course. Take an online course that teaches you how to do that. And then start applying for jobs. That's the best way to kind of at least see where you're at and really get a test for it. And I would love to help. So if anybody, I've personally been through this process. I have a lot of friends that were brand new and kind of started looking out. So I would love to help. But yeah, I would say look to the resources you already have. Look at your own college and get training in how this relates to your skill set. If you're a developer, maybe learn a development language that's common in this space. If you're in marketing or communications, start to pay attention to some of these launches and activations, and maybe start to learn how to do campaigns to sell even similar items. But yeah, just get your hands on it and see where that goes.
Well, it's so new and probably foreign to many. I think of the marketing majors that are in my class, entrepreneurship class at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and generally they're not very oriented to things in the internet. I shouldn't say that because they do social media and so forth, but as far as developing programs, not so much. It's a foreign world, I think. So how do you bridge the gap? I guess they have to be self-motivated, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, you got to go out and do it. So I know. So this was kind of my experience. So I was a computer science major, although I was kind of always business and marketing focused. And when I graduated, I kind of realized that while I had learned all of the concepts and all of the principles, I actually didn't really know how to do anything. This was no knock. Like, right. I think initially I did feel a little bit of like scorn, or I felt a little bit of like, hey, if I can't even get an internship here, why did you spend 4 years teaching me Java? If that's not really in the market very much. So then I went out and started doing things, and I did realize that, like a year or two later, then I started seeing all the effects of everything I had learned, right? So once I had gotten my hands on how to actually operate and how to actually kind of go from soup to nuts and, take an idea to market, and I learned the hard way, right? You got to learn through just doing it. Then I was able to be like, oh, wait a minute, right? And then everything I learned started to come back, and I started to be able to apply everything I had learned to how I was doing things. And I think looking back, I wouldn't have it any other way. I definitely learned things that are still paying dividends, right? That are still enabling me to think differently and really understand the technology in a way where somebody that didn't have a similar education might need to go do some research. But I did have to get that hands-on experience that you've just got it's not easy. It's growing pains. You got to go out and find something that you're passionate about. To people that are interested in entrepreneurship, do it. Have an idea. You could certainly help Jim, with like how to find an idea and find something that you want to develop into a business. But then go and do it, right? Create that pitch deck. Go to accelerator programs and programs that can help you. Find early customers, find investors. Every single one of those things is going to be difficult, but every single one will teach you an invaluable skill, and eventually you'll kind of get a hand on it. If you do it for 5 years, like I have, you'll start to see the patterns, and it'll start to get a little easier. But you have to do it. You have to go out and get that real world experience, however you can, and that will then enable you to bring everything you learned into that. But you've got to pick up what's present in the market by just going out and doing it.
Wow, that's really great advice. I think the words "just do it" really ring true, because people will sit and stew because they don't have a job or they don't have a future. Just get out there and do it, and you'll be able to create it yourself, which is exactly what you did.
Yeah, and I'll pass along some words that I heard when I was almost out of college that I still remember to this day. It was a talk at UW-Madison that I went to because I saw free pizza. If you're in marketing, never forget the value of free pizza. It'll work no matter what the age is. It'll bring people in. So I ended up, in the back of this lecture hall. Like I arrived a little bit late, so just filling a plate with pizza. But Max Levchin, so one of the people from PayPal, was speaking. He said something along the lines of like, there is no better time to start a business than in college or out of college, because you're already used to eating ramen noodles, right? You're already used to, your cost of living, your ability to make do with very little and to be very busy, but to still find time for yourself. That's what college does. And so that was kind of some of his advices. He said, hey, there's no better time, because when you're in college, right out of college, you're already ready to do what it takes to build a business. And if you come back later in life, which is always an option, right? I always tell that to people. I say, hey, maybe try entrepreneurship now. You can always get a job and then come back later. A lot of times you come back later and you've got a mortgage, you've got a family that is a fantastic thing, but makes it a little bit harder to ruthlessly chase your dreams. So I do recommend that to people. It's not easy. It's, some people will wait to do it because it is uncomfortable. It is something where you're going to face a lot of failure and a lot of difficulty and a lot of things you did not know how to do, and you'll have to be very humble, and you'll have to say, I thought I was right here. Turns out I was wrong. But I absolutely recommend it to anybody interested, because it's a fantastic time. College and leaving college right outside is a fantastic time to do that. And you've also got some really unique knowledge, right? Don't sell yourself short. Give yourself some credit. As somebody that's coming out of college, you've got the knowledge of the future that a lot of people that are older might not have. So go for it.
Gosh, that's wonderful advice. Benny, this is just great. I appreciate your comments. They're right on target for the kinds of things we wanted to talk about. The book that I've written is Graduate a CEO, and that's exactly what you did. You did it while you were in college, and you've expanded it since then and been very successful. I really appreciate your sharing your thoughts with us.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I've had a lot of people help me with their time, with their connections over the years. So I'm always here to do what I can to pay that forward. So if anybody listening, if there's any way I can help you, if you're considering a career move and looking to learn a little bit about emerging tech, please feel free to reach out. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. And yeah, it's been my honor. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. And that will do it for another episode of Graduate a CEO. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, make sure you take a second to subscribe so you automatically get my new shows when they drop. Also, I'd love if you left me a review so more entrepreneurs like yourself can discover the show. Until next time, take care.
This has been Graduate a CEO with Jim Hunter. If you'd like to connect with Jim and learn more about why you should consider starting a business while in college, go to jameshunter.com. Graduate a CEO is a production of Advantage Audio.